That's a great answer,
Thought it was
man.
a great
That's
answer.
a great answer.
Usually we don't shut up. You shut us up. That was a great answer.
That was jeez, I'm sorry.
That was
Thanks.
Sorry, I just figured I'd state the obvious.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty and Afaro. Mr. Bill DeMott, thank you, sir, for joining us.
Hey guys, what's happening?
What's going on?
Oh my!
I have
God.
that. That's the only part of my entertainment that's not to go. Oh.
So we were talking right before the show when we were just trying to make a quick contact. You're growing that beard. You're looking pretty good. You look like you're in really good shape.
It's thank you. Round is a shape, so I feel pretty good about that.
Recent allegations against Vince McMahon have obviously cast a shadow over his future with the company. Any thoughts?
As you could probably imagine, I'm not a fan of allegations or accusations.
Sure.
I deal in facts. I try to anyway. When I learned the news, I went, "Wow!" So I questioned, because you watch on this crazy social media world we're in. I think a lot of people get a free dart to throw at Vince because of the Mr. McMahon character. I think that's where a lot of the hoopla comes from. With Wall Street reporting these things and the news picking up all over the world. It's a real thing, but I think a lot of people just chime in because they get to say something. Mm-hmm. And I'll say this: if there's something that happened that was, legally breaking the law or misconduct, then the chips are going to fall where they may, and that's something for Vince and Ken McMahon, the person, to deal with. As far as the WWE, I don't think there's anything big enough to stop World Wrestling Entertainment as a company and as what they do, on a daily, weekly basis as a company and performers. I think it'll shake things up a little bit if something formally comes out. But I choose to really, and I think I'm gun shy from it by now. I choose to, when I hear the words allegations and stuff like that, I offer no opinion, whether it's personal or professional, until everything comes out, because as we know, we're not hiding things here. I've been on the end of allegations and accusations, and just like I did then, I didn't comment on things that weren't factual. So I choose to, kind of just sit back and see what happens. And as always, I wish everybody well. To be honest, it has no effect on my day-to-day life currently, so I choose not to get too wrapped up in it, and then I also choose not to get involved in Twitter and all those things where people say, "Hey, tell me about that." There's really nothing for me to tell because I'm not there. I'm not part of it. I'm no longer a shareholder or anything, so I there's no trickle down effect for me. I just hope that whatever happens gets cleared up, and that wrestling fans enjoy what they pay for and not get involved in the other things,
But don't you think, as a country, we have this habit as the people to tear down the success stories in hopes to build them up? Because with Mr. McMahon, we've got two different issues here. We've got the moral side of it against the legality side.
Right.
And I feel like as people of this country, we never seem to separate the two, right? Because morals is different from legality. So whether he slept with that woman and gave her hush money, that is a moral issue.
That's a moral issue, exactly.
Yep.
So why do you think this country has become this way, or do you think it's always been this way?
I think we've opened the door to give people more opportunity. Like and this is where you go down the rabbit hole, right? There's a freedom of speech, and I can say anything I want, and here's my opinion. And once we have more formats to do that with no repercussions,
there you go.
I think people, it goes back to the keyboard cowboys and people who hide behind an avatar.
Yep.
And that to me is the downfall of forget the wrestling industry, forget football, forget basketball, forget all these forget politics. This is what's happening, and you said it. In America, in this country, in the world, everybody gets to have an opinion, which is fine, and voice it, but the court of public opinion is taking over the courts. You're done. Livelihoods are changed, careers are changed, all these things are changed. And I say that now openly because right now I'm in a conversation with the Speaker of the House of the United States, about her husband's legal problems. If they were moral problems, I have nothing to say about that because I'm sure, listen, I don't stand on a soapbox and I don't live in a glass house, thank goodness, because morally, I know that I've done things that might be incorrect, and I'm not here to judge people. But I think everybody feels like I can say what I want, and I'm not really hurting anybody. And if I am, who cares? They don't know who I am.
What was your personal relationship with Vincent Kennedy McMahon, if we can ask?
I'll try to answer this one short. From day one of joining WWF at the time. Can I say that here, WWF?
Sure. Say whatever you want.
Sure.
I know it's not politically correct. You can't say it because the panda bears will come and get me or something. But
hey, be careful. Last week we announced that what kind of sloth bear ate 2 people in India.
Yeah,
so you got to be careful of those panda bears.
Watch those.
I always wanted a sloth. We got to talk about this later.
Yeah.
I want a sloth.
I know one that's on the run in India. He's all yours.
I'd love to see anybody who gets caught by a sloth. I don't know. I want to say you almost deserve to get a
that's what I said last week, but I'm with you on that one. I'm with you on that one.
I've had some crazy, creative conversations with Vince, but he's always been very cool.
Really? Okay.
The thing that stands out for me with Vince McMahon, and this is my respect for him after wrestling, is when my daughter was killed in 2015. Vince was one of the first people to pick up the phone and speak to me.
Okay.
And that speaks volumes. This isn't wrestling. This isn't, a gimmick. This wasn't so he could say, "Hey, guess who I called during his tragedy?" This was a man, Vince, calling a man Bill, and sharing a moment and some thoughts and just heartfelt conversation. And I've never had anything less than that from Vince. I knew when it was business, and I knew when you could have a couple of laughs with him. He was always available to you, or at least in the times that I was with him, and later on when I worked behind the scenes as a producer and an agent. Always business. Let's go get him. And then if there's times to sit around and laugh or throw a shot at each other or something, it was always. I always had a good relationship with Vince. There was never anything, like I have nothing. I wish I could. He tripped me in the hall one time, that sucker, and I got mad. No, nothing, man. I've seen him at his best. I've seen him when he's mad. I've seen him when he's late. I see him when he's got a lot on his mind. But I've never seen him not take the time for a conversation or explain his thinking. But the thing that stays with me when I hear his name is how he respected my family and picked up that phone.
That's good to hear. So, being that we're old school, recently Sasha Banks and Naomi walked out of Raw because they were unhappy with the storyline. What are your thoughts and what are your feelings about that and the state that the character or the athlete can just decide they're going to walk out on their contract?
That part, and again, all we have is so far, I think, as far as if I'm caught up in it, we just have the side of that they walked out, they dropped the belts on Ace's desk or whatever it was, and they left. I don't think we've heard from Sasha and Naomi since, for whatever reason. I tend to think, like a lot of people, it's still a work, but I don't think it is. I know both of those young ladies very well. Utmost respect for them. Old school, I don't get it. Nothing justifies walking out, especially this day and age when the younger talent that's coming in now, and they're still young talent, have been given the world. Let's talk about their payday. If we're talking old school, let's talk about their paydays. Let's talk about their travel and what they're doing and what's afforded to them. That you just, or I don't like what's going on and I'm going to leave. I can't wrap my head around that. I mean, how many times have I've been in a room, and when I say room, a locker room full of 40 guys who were pissed off and didn't like what was going on, but you did your job. And I think that's the easy part now, is that even if they love the business, they know there's other things they can be doing. So how much do you really love it? And when do we start thinking about the people that have invested all their time in the years they've been there? When do we start thinking about, forget the people behind the scenes, when do you start thinking about your fans? And while people going, yeah, good for you, you stuck up for yourself, and if you don't like it, walk out and all this other stuff. If I'm the owner of another company or someone in the industry, how do I know that's not going to happen to me next if they get upset? So again, just hearing what's been going on so far, I can't even say good for them for sticking up for themselves, because I'm not sure what the issue is. If it's creative, then I don't know. I just think there's a better way than just going, I'm going to take my ball and go home.
Well, did you work with either one of those young ladies at all?
Yeah.
Did,
I was there from
day one.
I was there from day one with Sasha.
I figured.
So did you see something in Sasha? Because this is not the first time that this type of occurrence has happened. And again, I know nothing. I only know what I read.
Right.
But did you see that type of temperament from Sasha when you were training, or do you think this is just her attitude's changing?
I don't think it's like, I think when people hear temperament, they think it's an angry thing. I think there's that.
Is it her ego?
I definitely saw, as time went on, and not specifically with Sasha, I think with the whole group, I think I saw that entitlement, because they were always reminded of how important they are, and it is about them as well as they should be. But I think it was taken a step further, and like, okay, I do hold all the straws. I am, and without me, the show doesn't go on. I think that's the mentality, a lot of, I'm going to do damage to this company if I leave, and they better know it.
Yeah. Recently, Paul Pelosi, husband, and again, I don't know if you're a fan of hers or not, I call her the devil, husband of the devil. Tammy Stitch, otherwise known as Sonny, and now more recently, Jeff Hardy.
Yeah.
Can you share with us and the fans your thoughts on these situations, and maybe these people feeling they're bigger than everybody else and they feel they can do whatever they want and put everybody's lives in danger?
I think there's a lot of people, when they see me now on social media, they're not looking at, they're looking at the Bill DeMott they saw on TV. They're looking at the Bill DeMott who was formerly Hugh Morris, or formerly General Erection, or formerly from Tough Enough, and all these formerly things. And who I am is, the funny part is, I'm still the same Bill DeMott, but I have a different agenda or speaking platform because I was affected. My 20-year-old daughter was killed in a head-on collision by a multiple DUI offender. I stopped everything I did from that day on. There's no more acting. There's no more. I still try to. My wife made me do a wrestling appearance a couple times there because I love the business. But I'm vocal now, and so it's clear to everyone. The wrestling universe sometimes eats me up still. Well, why are you picking on Jeff Hardy, or why are you picking on Sonny? Sonny is a 9-time offender who took a person's life. I'm talking about Tamara Sitch. I'm not talking professional wrestling. This isn't personal. I take it back. It is personal. You have to be held accountable. I'm not going after Jeff Hardy, one of the greatest professional wrestlers in the history of this industry. I'm talking about Jeff Hardy, the man who continues to make decisions to get behind a wheel, intoxicated, and he's going to kill himself or someone else. I'm not going after Speaker Nancy Pelosi because of political reasons. Frankly, I don't care what she does. But as an elected political official, your husband was arrested for DUI, and they're trying to hide the fact. Same as the actor from Anchorman, that David Koechner. Same as the guy who nobody knows in Central Florida who's had 6 DUIs and killed people. The guy who killed my daughter was a multiple DUI offender who wasn't held accountable until he killed someone. Now, there's 2 things I know in this world. I can be physical as anybody else, and I have to protect my kids. I was good at what I did. I entertained the world in some way, shape, or form. I made you mad. I made you laugh. I entertained you. I made you go, wow, holy cow, or that sucks. But this is life. And in this life, people are losing their lives because of decisions. Am I standing up and saying, I have never been in that situation? No. And every time I speak in this country, I say, I'm not casting stones at anyone. But if you want to go back, This is what I go to. I go to facts. You got arrested for a DUI. And in this country, we have a repeat offender mentality. It's just, you're a good guy. It's an accident. He didn't mean it. Oh, he's got a problem. Oh, she's got a disease and all the, but why do we have to suffer because of someone's decision? Because they have this to fall back on, they keep making those decisions and losing lives. So I want to speak to Nancy Pelosi and go, you're a parent, and what if it was your daughter killed? What would be your stance then? I don't want to see Jeff Hardy, the professional wrestler, in jail for the rest of his life. I also don't want to see Jeff Hardy kill someone or himself because of drunk driving. And so people have to be held accountable, me included. And I stand by everything I say, everything on social media, everywhere I go. And because of that decision made almost 7 years ago, I've spoken to over 100,000 students. I work with law enforcement agencies nationwide. I'm on 2 different boards. Our foundation is growing, and not growing in a good way. I don't want to do this, man. I wanted to entertain people. I wanted to make them laugh, make them mad. I wanted to do goofy. I dressed in spandex for a reason. And now here I am in the legislature in Tallahassee and getting ready for the U.S. government, trying to pass bills and talk to kids and educate people, because you and me, we're not going to change this. We're too old. But we've got to smarten up this younger generation. And in the process, if you get caught, then I'm going to be there to put you on Front Street. And I'm going to be holding people accountable. When I say holding people accountable, I'm mainly trying to hold the lawyers and the judges and the people making the arrests accountable more than the offenders, because we just keep slapping them on the wrist. So my outcome doesn't change. It'd be very easy for Bill DeMott and the DeMott family to sit in a corner in the dark and try to navigate our journey, because I have a 28-year-old daughter whose life has been changed forever. I have a 13-year-old son who's trying to understand what life is without a sister. I have to look my wife in the eye every night. And I have to wake up and try to figure out what I'm supposed to be doing with my life, because I had a career path. I made my decisions for my family and what we wanted to do. I had a future planned. And sometimes I think we all forget that in wrestling and in business and everything else. And sometimes you just have to stop everything else and take care of yours. I'm serving a life sentence. No matter what I do or say, it doesn't affect my family one way or the other. We're not coming out of this, and this isn't a family business. My daughter's foundation isn't a family business. It's run by volunteers. I make zero money every day because it's not about money. It's not about notoriety. I've always said I've been a coach more than half my life, and I'm a father. And how dare I not do what I raised my kids to do and how I raised them to think.
No. In 2015, several former trainees took to social media, like half the world does, to tell stories about your alleged, there's the word, misconduct. The WWE investigation found zero wrongdoing on your part, but you decided to resign. Why did you resign? And share your thoughts on what you were going through during the allegations, please, if you can.
So here's the interesting part about this conversation we're having right now. Up until now, I don't think I've ever addressed this.
Okay.
By choice. So I'm going to say this. I feel like, and it goes back to what I said earlier when we were talking about Vince's situation. I'm not a big fan of allegations and accusations. And I was no stranger to them prior to becoming the head of, the Performance Center and doing all those things. I continue to find it interesting that people who don't make it, particularly in the WWE,
okay,
wait till they lose their opportunity, their job, or something to voice that kind of opinion. If it's something that serious and offensive, then why wasn't it addressed when you're told that you have open forum to speak to anybody at any time? I will say the Performance Center has cameras in every room, corner, square foot of the building, so everything is seen 24 hours a day. And to be honest, instead of addressing all that, the reason I resigned is this. Just like Triple H and so many others that helped take the NXT brand from FCW and the Tampa area and to build it into what it became and kind of what it still is. I put a lot of time, effort, sweat, emotion into helping build that brand and that Performance Center, and worked with those men and women on what they did and what they tried to do. And I thought it was the best thing to not tarnish what was about to happen. Because if you look back at that time in 2015, we were just branching outside of Florida. And so things were really starting to grow.
Yep, NXT was taken over.
And I knew what was coming down months in advance because I was a WWE employee. I was the head of the PC. So Paul and I talked every day, and I knew the numbers and where we were going to go and what we were going to do and how we were going to get there. And I take great pride in that. And so when all of this came up, and to your fact, publicly stated zero justification for anything that was said, done, written, or posted. And it wasn't the first time it happened, and every time it was investigated. When I say investigated, human resources, the whole thing. But what was happening was the court of public opinion and the social media, and because NXT was starting to branch out and become this world brand, they were starting to make, there could be this mark on it. So I just took the high road. There's no other explanation. I called my wife from Ohio, and I said, I'm going to get on a plane and I'm coming home. She said, everything okay? I said, I'm done. Because we all didn't work that hard to have it just thrown around, to go through what? Months of goofiness like they're going through now, fast forward 7 years later, whatever it is. I just didn't, why do you work so hard to build something up to let people tear it down? So J.J. Dillon told me something a long time ago in WCW when I first got there. He said he's the guy with the bullseye on his back because people think he makes all the decisions. And when I became a trainer after Tough Enough and Deep South and all these other things, it became the Bill DeMott dartboard. And for people to honestly think that I was the one in control of all decisions on who made it, who didn't make it, who had a job, who didn't have a job, who's getting a push, who's not worth it, who's doing this, I mean, you got to be. I appreciate the accolades, but you got to be out of your mind. So, like I said, I always say in my close personal circle, someone had to lay on the sword. So I laid on the sword. So
You enjoy working with Paul? How was Triple H?
oh man, I never got to work with him in the ring, but I got to know him. And when I talk about serious conversations, we're life and business and things like that. But his vision became my vision. He inspired me every day to be better. He inspired me to protect his vision. I felt like his personal bodyguard when so many people saw it going. They were, oh, let's do this, and I would always be the voice of. I'd hear Paul, and I knew his vision, and okay, let's stay the course. But I enjoyed working with him. I enjoyed getting to know him as a man and a father, and on a personal level and professionally. I think the guy's a genius, and he's got a tremendous insight. We both came from the Northeast. We both came from the same kind of trainers in the same time. And I looked at my career and go, wow, I feel pretty secure in what I did. And I look at what he's done, and this is a guy with a passion and a belief, and he trusts certain people, and I felt like he trusted me, and I had to do my job. And at the same time, when it came time to protect the brand and the company and Paul, I feel like I did what I had to do.
Can you share with the people what your conversation was when you decide to part ways? What does Triple H say to you?
He tried to talk you out of it.
We just looked at each other because you have to come face to face with your boss. And to be quite honest, I told Paul when I came back in 2011, when he first called me to come back after the last Tough Enough with Stone Cold, and I told him when I came back, regardless of what has happened in the past, I'll never do anything to embarrass you. That's my promise. And that was the conversation when I left Ohio that day after our first live event outside of Florida. I promised I'd never do anything to embarrass you. So I appreciate you, man. And that was kind of it.